What's the definition of an ally slash allyship? What do they do? Let me start off by saying my quick definition of an ally is that someone who validates the experiences of a marginalized person or group to support their healing and creating change together in that partnership. So someone who validates the experiences of a marginalized person or group in an effort to support their healing and creating change with that marginalized person or group through a partnership. So that's what I think is an allyship, or what an ally does. The other thing I'll say is that, okay, what does a good ally look like in a personal relationship or a working one? Like, what does an ally look like? For me, ultimately, it's someone who listens for and your story. So an ally is someone who really doesn't really look to be a savior. They're not looking to be the narrator, right? So they're not telling a narrative. Because I think, to me, the difference between a story and a narrative is a narrative can have anyone, is not necessarily the owner of the story who's telling the story, right? And so an ally is not a narrator. An ally doesn't go and assume somebody's story and start telling them. An ally listens for somebody's story. So really in listening for someone's story, they're amplifying that person's voice. They're not giving them their voice because they're already assuming, and they recognize that everyone has a voice, and what they're doing is amplifying it or echoing their voice. And so they're really there to listen for your story. And when they're listening for your story, they're actually validating what you're saying as opposed to agreeing, because there's a difference. They're validating, meaning that they're understanding it from their, as best as they can, from their point of view, or actually from your lens. They're trying to pivot their lens to reflect your lens, and then they're validating your story rather than agreeing. And why is that important? Because stories are more powerful than facts. Stories are more powerful than facts. Facts, numbers, all of those things are subject to interpretation. People don't retain them. But story is what people remember. It connects to people's emotions. So it's really important for an ally to help sponsor your story and help to listen for your story, help pull the story out of you or the marginalized group or person. Stories they humanize people. Stories connect to our emotion. It elicits emotions that connects us to each other. It elicits empathy, compassion, and it creates that level of connection. And so when we are allies or we are engaged in an allyship, what we're doing is we're fostering the story. We're fostering a person's ability to tell their own story so that they can create a connection. And what we're doing is we're echoing it, we're reinforcing their story, and we're supporting them and backing them up. And when we are allies or we engage in allyship and somebody tells a story and we validate them, that person no longer has to stand alone. They are not the only voice in the room. Our voice echoes theirs. We are backing them up. We're supporting them. We're validating them so that they're not standing alone in their story. We are brought into their story, or we choose to enter their story and see things from their perspective. So really, when you think about allyship on a grander scale, that's really what it, to me, that's what it entails. And so let me just explain a little bit more in terms of what I like, all the other facets of being an ally or engaging in allyship. You're not, it's really about human capital investing, right? Investment. It's about investing in a person or people or groups of people when you're an ally. You're not a savior when you're an ally. You're not there to fix the situation. You're there to learn and, again, to remind people of their agency. That does not mean that because you're not fixing it, you're not engaged, you're not going to do anything, you're going to let them figure it out. No, you remind them of their agency, and then you are there to provide service. You are there to be of service alongside them or beside them or right behind them. An ally is a sponsor. Allyship is equivalent to sponsorship, and that's equivalent to advocating, right? It's standing with someone, and instead of standing for someone, right? You're not standing in lieu of someone or standing in front of someone to represent their ideas, but you are standing with them. An ally doesn't assume a person doesn't have a voice, right? An ally assumes everyone has a voice, everyone has a story, and each person is capable of telling his or her story, but just needs the support or the validation. An ally does not put the responsibility on the person, right? An ally is equally responsible. It's just that the ally gives the person, the individual, or the group the opportunity to speak first, to tell their own story and amplify their voice. So that is really the definition of an ally and what an ally can do.